Well, it's now time to introduce our next speaker, who is a successful entrepreneur and an author of 4 best-selling business books.
He co-founded Dent Global, leaders in strategy and technology for entrepreneurial businesses. Since 2010, Dent has expanded into the USA, the UK, Singapore and Australia, and worked with over 3,000 very talented entrepreneurs.
So 2,999?
Something like that.
No.
But I can speak from personal experience that Dent's vision, which they hold very dear, is that business leaders and entrepreneurs should also measure success based on their ability to positively impact the world. And Daniel has definitely done that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome to Daniel Priestley.
Whoa!
Woo! Hi, Daniel.
Good evening. How is everyone? I know that I'm in the middle of I'm in the way of your dinner, so I'm going to keep it relatively brief. But we scrub up all right for a group of entrepreneurs and authors, don't we? I was talking to Martin before, and he said, "How do you feel about black tie?" I said, "I don't really like black tie. I'll get dressed up if it's the Queen of England or the Queen of Publishing." And for Lucy, we were all happy to dress up in black tie. Definitely the Queen of Publishing. What she's done for the publishing industry, she's an absolute unquestioned icon in publishing, and the flow and effect of what she's done, and the hundreds of authors, hundreds upon hundreds of authors, people who have felt the confidence to go out and write their book because of Lucy. I just want to maybe raise a toast and say congratulations and thank you so much to Lucy. So Business Book Awards, three big ideas. I'm going to talk about very briefly the 3 big ideas. So business is hard. Business is really tough. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. You're going to have some of the best times of your life. You're going to have some of the worst times of your life. You're going to have very high highs and very, very low lows. You're probably going to meet some of the best friends of your life and make the best connections of your life, and you're probably going to have some bust-ups along the way as well. So business is really tough. And the people who survive in business and go through business, the fact that they're willing to write books is a wonderful, wonderful thing, because business needs to be easier and it needs to be more predictable, and people need help and people need support. And the wonderful thing about business books is that, you know, for all of us going through our journey, the ability to trust in a business book, the ability to have access to something that costs, you know, only maybe 10 or 20 pounds, and to be able to access that information or the experience is just wonderful. So, you know, I can think about so many times where a book has really given me an idea or just made me feel okay, and to get on with the journey of business, the ups and the downs. So in this room, there's a lot of people who have been through business. You know, in magazines and in a lot of literature, you would think that every single person in business succeeds. The reality is that 75% of all businesses never make the VAT threshold. Only 5% of businesses ever employ 10 people or more. So businesses normally, they're very complex and very difficult and very, very hard. So when people have gone through that journey and then they share it with others, it's a very generous act and it's a wonderful thing. To have a Business Book Awards is for that reason a brilliant thing. Books. So let's get on to the second idea. Books. Who can think of a book that's changed their life? Right? I can think of a lot of books that have changed my life. I remember as a teenager, I read The E-Myth, which was a book that kind of got me interested in entrepreneurship. Has anyone read that one? Right, I love that one. I remember I read Think and Grow Rich. I was a strange teenager. Other boys probably had Playboy magazines under their bed, and I had Think and Grow Rich and The E-Myth. Right, so strange kid. And I remember reading lots of autobiographies. I absolutely loved Branson's biography and Anita Roddick's biography, and being able to access their story and being able to step into their lives and find out what they experienced in all of that time. But here's the strangest thing that I discovered later. I discovered later that the book that changes your life the most is not one that you read, it's one that you write. So sitting down and having to think about your own experiences and think about, what have I done? What have I learned? And to put that into a book. And actually, the impact of placing value on what you've done yourself and placing value on your experiences and your connections is a very profound, powerful experience. And then when you get that book out there, I mean, many people in this room have held their book for the very first time. When you take out the keys and run it down the sticky tape and the brown box opens up and you pull out that horrible piece of paper that's covering the book, and then you get that book for the first time and you're like, wow, that's something that I created, woohoo, right? It's probably the closest thing us men have to giving birth to something. And it's an exciting feeling without anywhere near the pain or trauma or anything like that. The thing that changes your life most is the book that changes your life most is one that you write, not one that you read. And if you haven't yet written a book, I encourage you to write a book. And there's this moment where you actually have to step up and be brave, and you have to say, you know what, I've got experiences, I've got stories, I know that all this stuff's been written before, but I'm going to write my story, I'm going to write my book. And actually, here's the thing, I've kind of discovered that everything that needs to be written has already been written. The world doesn't need any more books. The world doesn't need more stuff written. And actually, that's not the point. The point of more books is not for more books. The point of more books is for more authors. It's actually what the world needs is more people who are willing to step up and say, you know what, I want to get out there and share an idea. I want to get out there and lead something. I want to get out there and try and start a little bit of a movement. And I really think if nobody even read your book, it would still be worth doing, because you'd have become that person who's willing to share something, who's willing to put some value on what it is that you do. So business, books, and then the final idea is awards. And why have awards, right? So if the world doesn't need more authors or more books, if it's a personal journey, if it's something that personally changes for you, then why need awards? And the idea behind awards, I feel, is that we get so close to our own stuff and we get close to our own stories and we lose perspective. Proximity bias kicks in. My experience that kind of shook me up around this was I was climbing this mountain in Bali, and I remember I saw it from a distance, and it was just this wonderful mountain called Mount Agung. And I thought, wow, it'd be wonderful to climb that mountain one day. Anyway, the hotel guide booked me in. And we climbed for hours upon hours and hours, and we got up at midnight and climbed for 6 hours, and at sunrise got to the very top of the mountain, and we looked out, and we're standing there and we're going, wow, and the sun came up and it was just beautiful. And I said, what's that mountain over there? And said, that's Mount Ranjani. And I went, wow, how high is that one? It's about the same height as this one. Well, how do you climb that one? Well, you got to get on a boat, you got to go over there, and you got to do all the things. And I'm sitting there going, wow, we should climb Mount Ranjani. And the guide looks at me and he says, why don't you just appreciate the mountain you're on? I went, yeah, good point, right? So occasionally we forget, we get too close to the mountain we're on, and we get too close to what we've done. And actually, it's wonderful to have celebrations and to have awards, to recognize the mountain of value that you've created, to recognize how much of an impact that has had on others, and more importantly, to encourage others to make their climb and to climb their mountain as well. So the Business Book Awards is something that I think has probably taken too long to arrive, but thank goodness it's here. And what a wonderful thing that Lucy's done with her team and her support to put it all together. And I think a great acknowledgement to Lucy and a great acknowledgement to all of the authors here tonight. And if someone beats me in my category, it must be one hell of a book. So thank you very much. Have a good night.